Good morning, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Talk About It with Sam, where we discuss today's current events, life, health, wealth, and lifestyle. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more content. So much more to come. You can also find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Training with Sam. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Talk About It with Sam. So today I have my friend Nick on, who I will be interviewing. Nick is an author, a motivational speaker, and a coach, and a survivor of many different diagnoses. Nick has a wonderful background story, and he's going to talk about how his resilience and his endurance led him to a positive and happy, healthy life. Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Nick, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story is that I'm a 4-time cancer survivor. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have 7 herniated discs. I have nerve damage. I have sleep apnea. I've had meningitis. I went all 12 rounds with COVID, electric bills, mortgage bills, car bills, bad attitudes, traffic, and everything that everyone else has to live with as well. And I changed my life when I became an obstacle course racer. There was a period of time where from the first, actually even before the first time I got cancer, where getting cancer validated my perspective of my life, which at that point was that I was just this helpless victim. I was tough because I kept surviving all this bullshit that the world kept throwing at me. And that's how I felt. Everything from, being a child of neglect to paying my way through school to now it's cancer and now it's diabetes and now it's injury, and all this stuff kept happening to me and happening to me and happening to me, to the point where alcoholism runs in my family. And when I finally got a reprieve from being in the doctors all the time, I thought it would be a good idea to just fuck my life up all by myself and dive heavy into the bottle. And I spent several years as an active alcoholic, and I was a very highly functional alcoholic. I was a VP of sales at the time. I didn't lose my home. I didn't lose my girlfriend. I didn't lose much except for myself and who I was. And that all came to a halt in July of 2014, where I found myself in the middle of a blackout, or coming out of a blackout, in the hallway of a Las Vegas hotel, surrounded by cops and security and everybody who worked there telling me I had to leave because I had been in a fight. And I didn't remember it, but the memories that I did have were not good. And so I got thrown out of the hotel. I had to convince my girlfriend that we had to leave. It took us about 6 hours until my head was able to hit the pillow until later. And that was the moment where I decided I didn't want to live this way anymore. So I got sober, and that was a big change in my life. But I found myself 2 years later where I had just beaten cancer decisively for the 4th time. And my boss walks into my office and he says, "Hey, I want you to do a Spartan race with me." I looked at him and no, no, fuck no. An 8 to 10 mile trail race with obstacles? There was no way I wanted to be that uncomfortable. But that's when I had went home that night and I sat down and I realized I already was that uncomfortable. I had all these things going for me, and yet I had nothing but this empty blank space in front of me. And I was scared to death to do something about it. And so I said yes to the race. And that was 7 years, 97 obstacle course races, 6 major marathons, and a couple scores of other endurance suffer fests as well.
That's absolutely amazing. You should be so proud of yourself.
Thank you. I mean, it's been a journey. And the thing is, it's just one step after another, because, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. A lot of people, I'm 44, I'll be 45 this year, and I've had some success in my career. And I feel like a lot of people get to these parts, not just in age and career, but it's the same thing with somebody who runs a marathon for the first time. And 2 days later, it's like they're questioning their life decisions because they don't know what to do next. We hit these levels of achievement, of like achieving our purpose, and then we don't know what to do with it. And we kind of find ourselves lost. And I think that's really what had happened to me at that moment. Is I had not survived. Oh, I'm sorry. I had not overcome my adversity. I had only survived it. And that's what the last 7 years began to teach me, is by going through all of these uncomfortable situations, and by truly putting myself into hell and challenging myself, I continued to defy everything that I knew about myself. And so there came a point where I figured I had a message of recovery, a message of hope, a message of inspiration. And that's when I wrote my book, Through the Fire. And the first draft was like 100% ego defense. It was a 125,000 word mindless manifesto. It might as well have been a Spartan training journal, history of fitness, everything in the world. But what I hadn't realized until I spent the next 2 years revising and revising and revising and just stripping away all the nonsense is the first version of that book was just the story I wanted people to know. It was still my outer defense, which meant I hadn't really grown that much. And throughout that process, just stripping away the ego and all the bullshit, you really begin to see yourself in a different light, and you begin to see things in a different perspective. And, just before we started the show, you talked about kind of key moments. That was the key moment of my mindset shift. It wasn't jumping the fire 97 times. It wasn't surviving cancer. It wasn't getting sober. It was this humbling moment of looking back at my life, and all of a sudden I just started seeing these lessons from it, both in resilience and the opportunity to do something with it. And it was with that that I have overcome my adversity, and it's with that that I now know I can overcome any adversity.
So do you believe that you went through all your trials and tribulations to truly understand that point, that you would be able to overcome anything?
It's like this. So I'm not a religious guy, but I am a spiritual guy, and I believe in a God that I pray to. And I joke about it now, but it's kind of like bad shit kept happening to me because I hadn't gotten the message yet. I there came a point in my life where I have accepted that, this is the way. I steal a line from Lance Armstrong's book, It's Not About the Bike, where I say, I was meant for a long, hard climb. And once I realize that, once I accept that this is my life and this is what my life's about, I am meant to take a beating because I can get through it. I found a way to I found a way to hit life fulfillment by using that as a purpose. Instead of just hiding under the bed, begging for life to leave me alone, it's like a game to me now. I have something to offer. And so that means I have to live it, otherwise I'm just a fraud. So when bad things happen, when I injure myself, or when a catastrophic plumbing issue happens in my kitchen last week, like all these things happen, life doesn't discriminate, and I have been well trained to handle it.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Not only that, but you went through some pretty traumatic events, and it makes you able to empathize and sympathize with other people that are in similar situations, and it gives you a different perspective on those people, and it almost makes like your words so much more powerful. So the next book that you write, and as you continue to write, you're going to be able to add all of your trials and tribulations, and people are going to be able to resonate with that, and they're going to find strength in it. And it's, for me, I think that's kind of the beauty in it. And like, I look at all my traumas and everything that I've been through, and I sit with them. And of course, like, you get sad, whatever, you get over it. But at the end of the day, like, I fully understand that I had to go through those things so that I could help other people get through them. And it doesn't, you said something that kind of that triggered me, that it's been a rough climb, but it doesn't have to be, right? Because we're learning as we're climbing. So that rough climb eventually ends up being a smooth road. So yeah, we'll have bumps in the road, but we've already gone through so many things, and we know how to handle situations in so many different ways, and how to keep our body and our minds healthy and happy, that we'll never really have to climb that same rough mountain.
There's what you just said makes a lot of sense. We'll never have to climb that same rough mountain, but I've never had a smooth road. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I'm not looking for one. I'm not anticipating one. A smooth road gets me to easy places where everybody in the world's already been to. And I mean, not for nothing, the road to Disney takes 3 hours now instead of 2. All right. There is no such thing as a smooth road. All right. The road to happiness has traffic. The road to
Yeah, yeah.
happiness is always going to be hard. And the thing is, as human beings, we are meant to explore. We are meant to move. We are meant to evolve. And the single greatest source of unhappiness is wishing things were different than they are. They're
Mhm.
wishing that the road was smoother. Whoever told us life was supposed to be fair? Whoever told us life was supposed to be easy and that bad things weren't going to happen to us? Well, they are. Life isn't going to get easier. I don't think the road will get smoother. We'll just get better. So when we hit those rough patches that aren't as bad, they might seem smooth to us, but the fact is, I'm always training for the next really big climb.
Yeah. I think for me too, I think I consider it only more of a smooth road with minor bumps because like you said, I have the education and the understanding to get through those
You've
things
been
in a
through
more
them before.
seamless way. Right. And I also am able to prepare my life in a preparation where I'm not going to be putting myself in chaotic situations because during my traumas and all my learnings, I also learned to create boundaries. So those boundaries are helping me to stay away from situations that are really going to make me battle. I'm never going to go in this uphill battle anymore because I have a boundary now. So I'm going to take a different road. I'm going to choose but maybe it might be a little bit difficult and I might have to get through some things, but for me it's going to be a much better approach because I have the education to take myself down a different path. Um so the way I look at it is not so much as like getting easier like you said because it's always going to be a little difficult, but working smarter, not harder.
Absolutely. And that makes a lot more sense, right? Because I'm not one of those guys who has a problem with easy, by the way. Like, I'm not Goggins, I'm not Haynes, I'm not Jocko, I'm not Jim Bro out there. I spent most of my weekend nursing an injury, binge watching whatever was on TV. Like, I believe in living life to an extreme imbalance sometimes.
Mhm.
We go hard when we go hard. And if you're at one mode the whole time, you're going to burn out. There's nothing that can go at one speed. And I think there's something that's really the thing that we're not saying out loud enough is that we have to give voice to the things we went through. Writing my book was journaling, right? And the first draft, like I said, was just ego defense. That was poison. That was nothing. It was the act of being willing to be vulnerable and look at myself and being willing to admit that I was scared. And the thing is, speaking as a man, we get into this like machismo thing where we can't show weakness. And it's like, again, I'm going to reference David Goggins, but he talks so much about how he was a scared little kid. He doesn't go out there boasting about his thousands of miles as much as he talks about overcoming the mental things in his life and the emotional tragedy and trauma in his life. And it was about writing about it and speaking to it and giving voice to it that began to take that power away. And so that was the first part of my book. But the other thing is that I give these daily videos every day and I just talk about what's on my mind. And every time that I do, you know, I know I'm a little all over the place when I say this. I was actually on a podcast a couple months back and I was talking to him about how when I was revising the book, I would actually find myself emotionally in the situation I was writing about. And he said, well, yeah, because you've been reliving it. It had never occurred to me that I had been reliving it. And as
Yes.
dangerous that sometimes is, it's also powerful because I wasn't living it thoroughly the first time. I wasn't fully engaged in and immersed in everything that was happening. I was too focused on defense and protecting myself to really process everything that I had gone through. And it was remarkably powerful. And I mean, a lot of these things, I get it. We don't want to always talk about them. We don't want to acknowledge them. And there's only, some things that just there's a very small amount of people that you want to share them with. But there's so much value because you know what? The people who are going through it, who haven't had anybody to talk to yet, who haven't heard about it, the number one thing I hear from people whenever they go through something is just how alone they feel.
Right.
But
Right.
I bet firsthand that they don't have to be alone and that they are not the only people and definitely not the first people to ever go through something.
And I think that was absolutely beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful because that's like one of my my biggest conversational pieces is isolation and how we can change we can change our perspectives and we can change our future outcomes by having conversations and by speaking about our traumas and not holding on to them. Because as most of us know, the longer that you hold on to those traumas and the longer that you hold on to all of the things that you've been through and all of the things that affected you mentally, physically, emotionally, the harder it is for you to evolve. because you're not dumping out any of the things that happened. So you're not making space for new things to come in. You're not making enough space to create those healthy habits and to really put yourself on a different path. So speaking about them, having those conversations, knowing that you're not by yourself, trying your best to reach out, is really what we're trying to do here. That's the message that we're trying to get across, so that people don't feel like they're alone. And when they do feel like they're alone, they have different ways to talk about it. If you don't have friends and family going to a doctor, if you don't have anyone that's super close to you, if you're having difficult with a PCP, or you don't know where to find some resources, that you're asking other people for help, so that you're not sitting in that for so long. The longer that you sit in it, what he's like, you don't sit in shit, right? So you need to get out of it,
You
and you need
create a
to.
different reality for yourself that justifies the reality you're living in, and it becomes a prison cell that I it's I don't know how to get out of.
Mhm.
Like, I say that action is the number one conqueror of fear. Action is the number one conqueror of doubt. But it's hard when, I actually sometimes say that a victim mindset has a benefit, in the beginning, because you've been hurt, you've been scared, you've been wounded and frightened and betrayed. Your whole world has been knocked off balance. Like, it's kind of like when you get injured and you get all the inflammation around you to protect the injury. Sometimes we have to protect ourselves, but we have to process it. And
Right.
not for nothing, at the same time, that victim mindset helped me tremendously in my life. All right. I paid my own way through school. I've been working full time since I was 12 fucking years old. Like, and I'm not upset about it. These were just the ways and the reality that this victim, took back at the world. But if you feel like it's you against the world, you can't feel that way unless you feel that you have been victimized by the world. And so there comes a point where that same attitude will actually begin to work against you. And so for
Mhm.
a long time, it served me well, but then that tough exterior can serve you well, but then you end up lying to yourself too. And then you don't address these things. And then they have this power over you. And what's worse is then, we don't want to talk about it. We're scared. We're intimidated. We care way too much about what other people think. When in fact, like, the people who are going to make fun of you or put you down or make you feel bad about what you went through, good. They're not the people you need in your life. Let them
I
show
love that.
themselves real fast. Like, show me who you are, because I don't need you in my life. I don't need to feel bad about it. And not for nothing, at the same time, the people who will comfort you for not living your life, you don't need them in your life either. You just need authentic people. And the most authentic people are going to be the people who can be honest about what they've gone through, and just share. And not everybody has a different frame of reference. That's one of the other dangerous things about sharing. And I'll tell you this, I had to get over this, because when I would go to Moffitt Cancer Center for my regular treatments, I had thyroid cancer. As far as cancer is concerned, I'm sitting at the junior varsity table. I mean, there are some just horrific and heroic and crazy, things that people have to go through to survive in their cancer journey. And for the longest time, I didn't like to talk about cancer because I didn't have to go through what they went through. But that is a shitty attitude, because what it does, it says, like, did I not have real cancer? Was my life not in danger? Is my life not in danger? Like, it's cancer. To
Right.
downplay what you went through just to make other people, don't make yourself feel small. Don't take away what you've gone through. Your experience is real. It happened to you. Pretending that it's not important is not how to get through it. It just makes yourself feel worse. It makes yourself feel like maybe you aren't valuable enough to survive it. All those negative thoughts are bullshit. Don't compare. You went through what you went through. You have a real set of lenses. It's your experience. Take
And
ownership of it.
that's a part of self-love too, is like knowing that you're worthy of those feelings. Knowing that you're worthy of feeling what you're going through, and that you love yourself enough to kind of get through it. And like you said, not comparing yourself to other people. Everyone's journey is their own. And it's important for them to really just take in consideration what's best for them. Like, what's best for me? What's best for you? Wow. So
So
this was so great. I just feel like you've been through so much. And honestly, like, I'm very, very proud of you. And I like think that a lot of people are going to hear this, and that they're going to feel the same way, and that they're going to want to talk about a lot more things, and that they're going to kind of like question where they can start in their own journeys and how they can transition into like a healthier and happier life. If there was anyone out there that was wanting to start a new transition, is there any advice that you would give them?
Well, this goes back to what I was just saying, which is to take action, move a muscle, change a thought. You can't fix the problem from the same paradigm that you're sitting in. So we have to move, physically move. Like right now, if you're listening to this, get the fuck up, stand up, walk somewhere else, do anything, look out a different window. All right. Big changes occur from small changes. It could be, you know what, best thing advice for anybody right now. I want you to drink 1 glass more of water today than you had yesterday. That's it. Start with that. Drink more water. Like it's taking action, it's a healthy action. But the thing is that action inspires action, progress inspires progress. So all we have to do is make these small choices for ourselves because the only things we can control are our thoughts, words, actions, and reactions. And when we spend so much time focusing on everything else out there, we're not taking control of the things that we have control of. So take action in your life. Start small. Drink an extra glass of water today. Do it again tomorrow. Just see if a good habit feels good. Good habits are gateway drugs. Let it roll, but just take the first action.
That was great. That was really, really good advice. For anyone that's interested in purchasing your book, where can they find it?
Through the Fire is on Amazon. It's available for Kindle as well. I don't know when this will air, but on the 19th, I think the 19th, that whole week, it will be free for download to the Kindle version. And by the end of the first quarter, look out for our next book, Selling Inspired, which will also be on Amazon.
Excellent, excellent. So this will probably air sometime late spring, early summer. And we'll make sure to put all of those links in the bio.
So probably towards the end of July, we'll be running another promo to run the free download for Through the Fire.
Nice. That's awesome. Wow, Nick. Well, this was a really great episode. Thank you so much for joining me. You were very insightful. And I think a lot of people are going to take away a lot of really great messages from everything you shared with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.